Okay, guys, welcome back to League Winners. Today I will be going over my wide receiver rankings and who I have ranked from 24 to 12. So this will be a two-part video. So today I will be going over 24 to 12, and then in part 2 I will be going over 11 to 1. So when you're ready, let's get after it. Okay, guys, so with regards to my rankings, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment down below and I would love to discuss that with you. I'm going to try and go through these relatively quickly, so let's just get right into it. At number 24, I have DeAndre Hopkins. He is getting up there in age, but he should be the clear alpha in this Tennessee Titans offense. Last time they had an alpha in A.J. Brown, he did relatively well, so I could see DeAndre Hopkins playing pretty good this year. I'd be happy with having him as like my wide receiver 2, preferably flex or wide receiver 3. But yeah, it is what it is. At number 23, I have DJ Moore. So I could see DJ Moore having a career year this year. I can see Justin Fields taking another step forward. And I can kind of see a similar situation as to Philadelphia last year when A.J. Brown went there and he just lit it up. I could kind of see a similar situation with DJ Moore going to Chicago. He's going to be the main guy there. He's going to eat a lot of targets. So I'm happy with having him as my wide receiver 2, preferably like a flex, but happy with a wide receiver 2 with him. Okay, at number 22, I have T. Higgins. For whatever reason, I'm just a little bit lower than consensus on T. Higgins. I don't think he finished that high last year, even though he's ranked as the wide receiver 14 this year, according to Fantasy Pros. There's a lot of guys I'd rather take ahead of him. Jamar Chase is just the main guy there. And with Burrow's injury status up in the air, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, just for whatever reason, I'm a little bit lower than consensus on T. Higgins. At number 21, I have Christian Kirk. So Christian Kirk is a guy I'm a lot higher on. Last year, he finished as like the wide receiver 12, if I remember right. And he's currently ranked from Fantasy Pros at wide receiver 30, which is a huge jump. I know Calvin Ridley is going there, and Calvin Ridley should see a ton of targets. But I can see this whole Jacksonville team in general taking another step forward. I can see Trevor Lawrence taking another step forward, and I can just see this whole team taking another step forward with the addition of Calvin Ridley. So I think Christian Kirk will be fine. I don't think he has as good a year as he had last year, but I can easily see him being around 20 or even higher if he's fully healthy. So I'm happy with having him as like a low-end wide receiver 2, preferably flex. At number 20, I have Keenan Allen. So his age and his injury history does scare me, but I believe Kellen Moore will be a great addition for this offense and just the play calling in general. So, and I know Herbert loves throwing Allen, so he should see a ton of targets if he does stay fully healthy, which is a big if. But yeah, happy with having him as like my wide receiver 2. At number 19, I'm a little bit higher than consensus. I have Drake London. So last year, I think he saw close to a 30% target share. I know the QB situation in Atlanta is up in the air. I'm not sold on Desmond Ridder. Taylor Heineke's okay, but Drake London, he should be the alpha guy there. I think he's more of an alpha than Kyle Pitts is. So I could see him easily being the main target getter there and seeing a close target percentage as to what he saw last year this year. So happy with having him as like my wide receiver 2. At number 18, I have Amari Cooper. So he is getting up there in age, but he is just really consistent. I think in like 7 of his last 8 years, he's put up over 1,000 yards, if I remember right. And he should be the main guy here. Although I do think Elijah Moore does break out this year, I do believe Amari Cooper should see a ton of volume still. I believe Deshaun Watson can return to form. So happy with having him as my wide receiver 2. Now these next guys, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. So get a drink ready. So at number 17 and 16, I have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I am so excited, so optimistic about this Seahawks offense this year. You have no idea. These guys, they just manage to always finish around the top 15 year after year after year. And Geno Smith He's nasty. Like he was great for this offense last year, and I think he can be just as good this year, if not take another step forward. I know Jackson Smith and Jigma is there now, but I still think Lockett and Metcalf are gonna eat. Metcalf, he saw 90 receptions, I believe, last year, which was a career high for him. And Tyler Lockett, the real ones know like this guy is really, really, really good. So I'd be happy with both these guys as like my wide receiver two, preferably like a guy like Lockett because he is ranked a lot lower on most ADPs. I'd love to have him as like my wide receiver three or flex, but I can easily see him finishing around the top 15. Both these guys, I can see him finishing around the top 15 this year. And like this whole Seattle offense, I love all their ADPs. Like I love Walker, Charbonnet, Metcalf, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigma. And the guy I love the most is Geno Smith. I think right now Fantasy Pros has Geno ranked as the QB 14 when last year he finished as the QB 5. And now they're adding the best receiver from this year's draft. They're adding arguably one of the best pass catching running backs from this year's draft to this team. So I could easily see this team just being lights out. I can easily see Geno outperforming his ADP all day long. I almost just want to draft Geno in late rounds this year, and I'd be happy with having him as my QB1. But yeah, getting back to the receivers, I love both these guys. Super excited about this offense. I try and get them in almost all my drafts, preferably Lockett just because he does have a lower ADP. But yeah, I love both these guys. Okay, number 15, I have Scary Terry McLaurin. This is another guy I'm a lot higher on. For some reason, I see a lot of fantasy guys just throwing shade at Terry, and I just think it's unwarranted, to be frank. I feel like the real ones know what Terry is and they show him love. Like I've seen BDGE show him love. I've seen Matt Harmon from Reception Perception show him love. He loves this guy, and Matt Harmon is a guy who literally researches wide receivers and all their advanced stats for a living, and he raves about Terry McLaurin. He also raves about Tyler Lockett, but I know he raves about Terry McLaurin. And the reason why I like him is because pretty much every year he's been in the NFL, he's put up over 1,000 yards. In his rookie year, he put up just under 1,000, but every year since, it's been over 1,000 yards. He is the main alpha in this offense. I know Jahan Dotson is there, and he's good, but Terry is the alpha here. And the QB situation, he's never really had a good QB situation. I know there's lots of high hopes for Sam Howell this year, and by all accounts, just from what you read in training camps, he looks decent. But the reason I like Terry this year is because I believe he does have a safety blanket with Jacoby Brissett as the backup QB. So last year we saw Jacoby absolutely pump Amari Cooper with targets. And I remember last year drafting, everyone was fading Amari Cooper. Like he went so late in so many drafts. And by halfway through the season, everybody was trying to trade for him just because he was getting pumped like a gas tank in an H2. So I can see a situation if Sam Howell doesn't perform up to expectations, or if he gets injured and Jacoby steps in, I could see Terry taking over that Amari Cooper role for Jacoby Brissett and just getting absolutely pumped with targets again. And he's just an unreal talent. So I'm happy with having him as my wide receiver 2 all day, every day. At number 14, I love Chris Olave this year. I believe he takes another step forward. I believe he is a true alpha in this offense. Hopefully Derek Carr can be better than what Andy Dalton was last year. And I believe he can. Like Derek Carr, he had Devontae Adams last year, and he absolutely pumped him with targets. So I can see Chris Olave sort of taking over that Devontae Adams role for him. And Michael Thomas, I'm not too worried about. So I do believe Chris Olave does take another step forward. He's going into his sophomore year, which we like, and love having him as my wide receiver too. At number 13, another guy I like, Devontae Smith. He's nasty. I do believe he has a similar year as to what he did last year. And if Jalen Hurts can take even another step forward, I think him and AJ Brown and Goddard can all eat in this offense. So I love having Devonta as my wide receiver too. And finally, at number 12, Garrett Wilson. I believe he's going to have a career year this year. I mean, he's only going into his second year, but with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, the wily vets, I think he's going to be Aaron Rodgers' new Devontae Adams. As long as he stays healthy, I can easily see him finishing as the top 12 wide receiver, if not higher. So love having him as my kind of like a low end wide receiver one. If you can get him as like your wide receiver two, if you go receiver heavy in your drafts, I think that would be pretty sick. But yeah, that basically wraps up our video today. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you excuse me, I got a tea time to get to. I will see you in the next video.